What is happening in Benue right now is something that cannot be ignored. The news spreading is that locals in Benu launched a surprise attack that chased away suspected armed herders. This event is serious because for a long time communities in Benu have been on the receiving end of repeated attacks. But this time the story is different. The people turned the table. And as you are listening to me right now, don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you can always get fresh gist like this as it is happening. Reports from Benue say that in some communities where attacks have happened again and again, the people came together and made a plan. They were tired of being victims, tired of seeing their farms destroyed, tired of seeing their families live in fear. And then, when another attempt was made, they launched their own counter-move. It was unexpected. The attackers were not prepared to be resisted in that way. The locals stood their ground, pushed back, and successfully chased them out. For many people, this was a turning point, a sign that communities are saying, enough is enough. Now, if you know Benue, you will know it is called the food basket of the nation. This is where yam, rice, cassava, and many other crops are produced in large amounts. When insecurity affects Benue, it affects the whole country because food supply is shaken. Farmers cannot go to their land, markets suffer, and families go hungry. So this resistance by the locals is more than just about fighting back. It is about defending food security and defending their way of life. Viewers, please, if you are following this gist and you love how I am breaking it down for you, take 1 second and press like and also subscribe so that you can always stay connected with updates. Let us look deeper at why this kind of conflict keeps happening. Over the years, clashes between farmers and herders have increased. Herders move their cattle in search of grazing land, and sometimes these cattle enter farms, destroying crops. Farmers complain. Tension rises. But in some cases, it does not stop at just quarrels. It becomes violent. And in Benue, it has reached deadly levels too many times. Communities have been attacked in the night, homes burned, people displaced. That is why when locals gather courage to fight back, it becomes headline news. But the truth is, even though we can clap for their bravery, it is still a dangerous path. Because the attackers often carry sophisticated weapons, rifles, machine guns. While villagers may have only basic tools, cutlasses, or local rifles. Yes, they can sometimes succeed with surprise and numbers, but it still exposes them to big risks. This is why many voices are calling for more government action. It should not be the responsibility of civilians to defend themselves against armed groups. The government must provide enough security forces, better response time, and real protection for citizens. Do you agree with this point? Tell me in the comment section, and while you're at it, make sure you click like and subscribe to this channel so that your voice can be part of this conversation. Imagine the moment when the attackers were forced to retreat. Picture a village that has been living in fear, suddenly feeling relief because the threat was chased away. You can see mothers hugging their children, you can hear men shouting in victory, elders raising hands to thank God. That kind of relief is priceless. But behind the relief, there is also the reality. What if they come back? What if the fight escalates? These are the questions that worry communities every single day. Let's also talk about the bigger picture. Benu has been in the news many times. We have heard about large massacres. We have heard about villages attacked at night, and we have seen thousands displaced. International organizations have even raised alarms, saying this conflict is among the deadliest in the world right now. And that is not something we should overlook. If this continues unchecked, it will not only harm Benue, it will harm Nigeria as a whole. That is why this moment of locals fighting back is being seen not only as self-defense, but also as a call to government and the world. Communities need more help. And viewers, let me remind you again, don't just watch this gist and go. If you want to support this kind of awareness, like this video right now and subscribe. The more you interact, the more people will see this message and understand what our communities are going through. Now let us reflect. Why are we seeing more of these clashes in recent years? Many experts point to climate change, desertification, and population growth. As land for grazing reduces, herders move further south into farming areas. Farmers already have their crops on the land, and conflict becomes almost unavoidable. In places like Benu, where anti-open grazing laws have been introduced, it has also added to the tension because some groups resist such laws. So what you have is a complicated mix of survival, law enforcement, and deep mistrust. And inside that mix, ordinary people, farmers, traders, children are the ones suffering. I want you to pause and think for a moment. If you were a farmer in Benu and you planted yam after working under the sun for months, only to wake up one morning and see cattle had destroyed your whole farm, how would you feel? Now add the fear that the same people may come at night with guns. This is the daily reality in these villages. And that is why when the locals decided to rise up and fight back, people said, finally we are seeing courage. But courage alone will not solve the root problem. So what needs to happen? First, government must increase presence in rural communities. Second, there must be dialogue and lasting solutions between farmers and herders. Third, justice must be done when attacks happen so that nobody feels they can destroy lives and go free. Without this, the cycle will continue. Viewers, I want to hear your opinion. Do you think community self-defense is the right way forward, or do you think it is too risky? Share your thoughts in the comments, and please remember to like and subscribe because your engagement helps spread this message. When you hear stories like this from Benue, it is not just about numbers or statistics. It is about real people. Think of the grandmother who cannot sleep at night because she remembers the sound of gunshots from past attacks. Think of the little boy who wants to go to school, but his school was destroyed when the attackers came. Think of the farmer who now stays in an IDP camp, living under a tent because his home was burned. These are the people behind the headline. And when locals suddenly gain strength and push back, you can imagine the emotional release. It is like saying, we will not always be victims. But here is the question we must ask ourselves. Can a community keep defending itself without outside help? History shows us that when groups defend themselves, it can lead to bigger battles. Retaliation comes, then counter-retaliation. And before you know it, you have a cycle of violence that drags on for years. That is why observers are urging government not to just celebrate this one victory, but to step up and give real support. Because yes, the villagers were brave. Yes, they stood up for their land. But bravery alone cannot replace strong security. Let me remind you, my viewers, this is why we are here. To share this gist, to talk about what matters, to shine a light on what is happening. If you appreciate this breakdown, please like this video right now and subscribe so that you don't miss the next important gist I will bring. Every subscription, it helps spread awareness. Now, let us connect this story to what has been happening across Nigeria. Benu is not alone. Neighboring states like Nasarawa, Plateau, Taraba, and Kaduna have also faced similar attacks. Communities across the Middle Belt and even further north have been crying out for help. In some areas, attacks are linked to terrorism. In some, they are linked to farmer-herder conflict. But in every case, the victims are ordinary Nigerians. Families who just want peace. Families who want to farm, to send their children to school, to live without fear. That is the bigger picture we must always remember. Let us talk about the economy. Every time a community is attacked, not only do people lose lives, they also lose their livelihood. A farm that has been destroyed takes months, sometimes years, to rebuild. A cow that is lost cannot just be replaced overnight. Markets that are burned take time to reopen. And when all of this happens repeatedly, it weakens the whole economy of the area and by extension, the economy of Nigeria. That is why food prices sometimes rise. That is why we hear shortages. Because insecurity and economy are always linked. So in Benu today, when locals launched a surprise counterattack and chased out those threatening them, the meaning goes beyond that moment. It is a cry for survival, but it is also a cry for attention. A cry that says, we need peace to farm. We need peace to live. We need peace to contribute to the nation. As I am breaking this down for you, I want you to think of one thing. What role can you play as a viewer? For many of us, we cannot carry weapons, we cannot go to the villages ourselves, but we can raise awareness, we can push for accountability, we can share stories like this so that leaders cannot pretend they did not know. And one small way you can do that right now is to click like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Every time you interact, YouTube shows the story to more people, and the more people know, the harder it is for the suffering to be ignored.